Cafe, where ideas take shape, thoughts find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. She is a spiritual speaker, an author, and one of her advocacy, Surrender to Joy, from suicide to serenity. No other than Miss Susan Michel.
It's great to be here, Daniel. Thank you for inviting me on.
Welcome once again, Miss Susan. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yeah, my name is Susan Michel. I wrote the book Surrender to Joy from Suicide to Serenity. I have been a teacher and student of A Course in Miracles for over 30 years. It is my path to peace, love, joy, and happiness. And I think the my book starts out with the darkest time of my life when I was 20 years old, 5 years prior to finding A Course in Miracles. I tried to commit suicide twice. What I realized that is that I didn't really want to die. I just wanted to kill all that pain inside me. 5 years later, I found A Course in Miracles. And since then, it's been an uphill, I don't want to say climb, but it's been a more clear path to God. It's not about struggle, it's about surrender, which is why I entitled my book Surrender. And the introduction of A Course in Miracles states nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And what that means is only the love is real. So when we can surrender our will to our higher power's will, the will of God, it's a peaceful path and it's a beautiful journey down here in this earthly classroom where there are many lessons to learn.
Earthly Classroom. And thank you so much for empowering us, Miss Susan. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world once again. So today let's talk about your book itself, Surrender to Joy from Suicide to Serenity. Before we talk
Yes, my
about
book
yes,
is Surrender to Joy because our true state is one of joy. I will start out with the introduction because that basically states what I believe very clearly and concisely. I write in my introduction, my passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own miscreation. When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection to all that is real. This is my message. Um, that it is very simple. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. This is my message. It can be clarified with three simple words. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. So there is nothing to find in the world. What we need to do is we need to find that peace, love, joy, and happiness within ourselves first. And I do believe that we all come into the world with darkness, with pain points that we need to bring to the surface in order to release. And that is what A Course in Miracles teaches us to do. A Course in Miracles teaches us to identify the pain points so we can release them. A Course in Miracles says that it cannot teach us the meaning of love because love is who and what we are. The only thing it can do is teach us to identify the pain points within our unconscious mind so we can release them. In the introduction of my book, I make it clear that our true state of mind is one of peace, love, joy, and happiness. But again, in this earthly classroom, what we need to do is we need to learn to identify the pain points. So when the pain points come up, we can let them go. Um, because there's so much. I mean, the world is definitely run on the egoic thought system. The egoic thought system is based on fear. What is fear? False evidence appearing real. So when the world triggers us, we need to actually take responsibility for the pain points instead of act out. And by owning our pain, that's the first step in releasing our pain. So, my book and A Course in Miracles really focus on the fact that we are never victims of the world because we're always creating our own circumstances. A Course in Miracles and my book clearly states that projection makes perception. The external world is nothing more than a reflection of an internal condition. So we are here in this world to learn lessons and to release the darkness so we can access that our true state of peace, love, joy, and happiness.
Interesting, Miss Susan. And before we talk about surrender, we have to talk about the struggle. Can you describe the moment or the period where you felt most convinced that ending your life was the only option left? What did the pain feel like?
What happened in my childhood is that uncomfortable emotions were not tolerated. So, whenever I felt sad, whenever I felt angry, whenever I felt any emotion that was not positive, I was not encouraged or allowed to express it. And when we don't express these uncomfortable emotions, what happens is they get repressed in our unconscious mind. So after a period of years, I got more and more negative emotions suppressed in my unconscious mind. And what this did is it made me feel disconnected from the world, disconnected from other people, disconnected from myself. Even though the fear based emotions, the negative emotions, are not real, we have to learn to express them so we can release them. And I was not taught how to do that. In fact, I was taught not to do that. I was taught to repress my emotions. So they built up inside me. The second chapter of my book is entitled Sitting with Pain to Feel Our Joy. There's a poem, The Invitation by Araya Mountain Dreamer. What she writes in the middle of the poem is, I want to know if you can sit with pain, yours and mine, without trying to hide it or fade it or fix it. And what I needed to do is I needed to learn how to own my pain so I could release my pain. But because I didn't know how to do I just wanted out. I didn't know how to release the pain. So I wanted out. That's when I ingested the 6 bottles of sleeping pills. And I realized clearly that I didn't want to die. I just wanted to kill the pain. I just wanted to get rid of the pain. So and you asked me about the pain. How did it feel? I felt shut down. I felt completely disconnected from life. I felt disconnected from other people. I felt disconnected from myself. It was a very lonely mindset, a very lonely state of being that I resided in for a very long time. And that's how I felt right before I tried to kill myself, just completely disconnected from everything and everyone, very alone. Then, after I attempted suicide 2 times, after I started my recovery time, 5 years later, I found A Course in Miracles. I also started therapy. I learned to see these feelings um, in myself. I took responsibility for these feelings of sadness and anger. I allowed them to surface. And on the other side, I was able to connect to myself, to other people, to life. It was a journey. The next line in the invitation poem by Araya Mountain Dreamer states, I want to know if you can dance with joy, yours and mine, without trying to hide it. And I'm forgetting all my lines that I have memorized. I want to know if you can allow the joy to fill you from the tips of your fingers to the bottom of your toes without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. So my point is, once we learn to own the pain, we can access that joy on the other side. We can access the truth of who we are. We can surrender to the joy that we were meant to experience here on earth. That's what God wants for us. God wants us to be happy, because when we can connect to that joy, we can be the conduit for miracles that we were born to be. And that's a beautiful state of mind to reside in. God wants us to be happy. But in order to be happy, we have to learn to transcend the darkness. We have to bring the darkness to the surface, look it in the eye, and see that it has no power over us. And I think that's true for all of us, because this is a classroom. The earth is a classroom.
Yes. And Miss Suzanne, in that profound or in that profound darkness, was there a single thread, a person, a memory, a fleeting thought, or even obligation that against all odds held you there? What was it?
For me, what kept me in the darkness is the fact that I felt so isolated and so alone. What kept me in the darkness? Is that your question, Daniel? What kept me in the darkness?
Yes, please.
Is my feelings of abandonment and betrayal. I had a father who was a very stoic man. He was very controlling, very emotionally abusive, very disconnected. And I wanted to feel connected to him. I chose a series of boyfriends who did not want to be with me. They were very unavailable, just like my father. So what I wanted is, I wanted an unavailable man to fall in love with me. I wanted my father, this stoic, detached, disconnected man, to love me. And I remember, after ingesting the 6 bottles of sleeping pills, I imagined my father crying over my dead body. And I felt that if he could express emotion for me, that would make the suicide attempt worth it. So again, I imagine myself lying on the bottom of the stairway in our house. My dad ran down, and started crying over my dead body because he never showed any kind of affection for me. So my two core pain points were abandonment and betrayal. I felt betrayed by him. In later years, I realized that that was just who my father was. And I love my father. He passed away a few years ago, but I love my father very much. But that was just who he was. He didn't know how to express love for me or for anyone for that matter. So I stopped taking it personally. But at the time, I felt isolated, I felt alone, I felt separated. And my two core pain points that I had not learned to work through were abandonment and betrayal.
Miss Suzanne, what was the first tiny, almost unpredictable thing that made you think, maybe, just maybe, there's another way? Was it internal shift or an external event?
I think that, again, going back to the suicide, it was pretty clear to me that I didn't really want to die. I just wanted to kill the pain. I ingested the sleeping pills. And then, if I had just laid there, I probably would have died. But instead, there was something that stirred within me. And so I jumped out of the bed both times. I ran across the hallway to my parents' bedroom and I got them to drive me to the hospital to get my stomach pumped. The first suicide attempt, it was my mother. The second suicide attempt, it was my father. If I had really stayed in bed and let the sleeping pills absorb into my system, I probably would have died. But there was a big part of me that didn't really want to die. And the first shift that I made, the first real shift that I made was 5 years after the suicide attempt when I was 25 years old. And that was at a Marianne Williamson lecture in Manhattan. She was speaking about A Course in Miracles. I had never heard of A Course in Miracles. And when I listened to her talk about A Course in Miracles, it was the first thought system that ever made total sense to me. I knew this was my path to peace, love, joy, and happiness. That's where the shift occurred. The shift occurred when I found A Course in Miracles at a Marianne Williamson lecture. I thought she was a brilliant interpreter of the text. And also, I started to see a therapist, a psychologist, and she helped me to uncover the unprocessed pain points in my mind that needed to be owned, that needed to be seen, that needed to be released. Because again, it was only after I allowed the pain points to surface that I started feeling connection to myself, to life, to other people. So it was a combination of spirituality, A Course in Miracles, and psychology. Psychology was all about allowing the darkness to surface, giving myself permission to cry, giving myself permission to scream, giving myself permission to feel all the uncomfortable feelings that I had repressed for so long, and spirituality, which allowed me to forgive and to love. So my healing was a combination. That's when the light bulbs really started going off in my head. I needed to allow myself to feel the painful feelings, and then I needed to learn to forgive the people, the circumstances, myself. I held on to a lot of unforgiveness, guilt, and resentment for years and years and years. And then I realized that my freedom, and this is one of my chapters in my books too, my freedom was in forgiveness. It was only by true forgiveness could I feel peace.
Miss Susan, as an author, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, my short term goals are to market my book. I think it is an excellent book, and there's a lot of learning for many people. And the majority of the world is unfamiliar with A Course in Miracles. And so in my book, I make Course in Miracles more clearly understandable, because I think that the text of A Course in Miracles is very difficult to understand. It was written by, or scribed, I should say, by Helen Schuckman and Bill Thetford, and it's written in a Shakespearean language. It's very difficult to understand. It's amazing when you do understand it, and when the knowledge sinks in, light bulbs go off. But I think when, if anyone is led to A Course in Miracles, I think it's very beneficial to read a book that explains A Course in Miracles first. And so there's a lot of lines from A Course in Miracles in my book, Surrender to Joy, and I explain them to my readers. So I clarify the principles of A Course in Miracles in my book. So my short-term goals are to tell people about my book, market my book. I think it's a wonderful read, and if anyone is interested in learning about A Course in Miracles, I think my book is a great first step, because it explains the principles of A Course in Miracles, which are just transformational. That's why my company is Trust Transformational Truth. The principles of A Course in Miracles are transformational.
Transformational indeed. And thank you so much for sharing your goals in short term. And good luck for that. And looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be an author like you, Miss Suzanne?
Well, my piece of advice for aspiring authors is start writing. I mean, it's a very cathartic experience. It's a very beautiful experience. You learn a lot about yourself. I worked with an editor, so I thought that was very helpful. If I was to write another book, I mean, I think that there's a lot of AI tools now that are available to authors. You don't want to copy them verbatim, but to use an AI tool to help you is I think very beneficial and rewarding. But I think being an author is an amazing experience. It allows you to communicate to the world your thoughts about a subject that you're passionate about. And my passion is A Course in Miracles, and I related A Course in Miracles to my own life. So I spoke about it in my own way, and it's an amazing experience. So what I would encourage aspiring authors to go for it. And again, there are AI tools. Um, there are editors out there, writing coaches out there. I used a writing coach. I thought that was very helpful. I wrote my book before most AI tools were available. But if you have the aspiration to write a book, go for it. I think it's a wonderful experience.
Go, 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 go for it, people. If you have passion to write, 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 write. And Miss Suzanne, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in its fourth season, as well as Love Letters, Movie 101 Review, Music 101, Science 101, Sex 101 in second season, and my Baby Podcast Law 101, Mental Health, and Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Susan, tell us if to close. Yes, to close on forward looking note, what is a simple daily invitation you now offer yourself to choose serenity and joy?
I think meditation is a wonderful way to start each day. It's a way to still the mind and listen to your inner teacher. So every morning, what I do is I sit for 10 to 30 minutes, depending on how much time I have. I focus on light and love and innocence, and it centers me before I go out into the world. So I think even starting with 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and then when you have more time, you can spend a little more time in a meditative state. I listen to meditation music. And it's just a very empowering, grounding way to start each day. Another tool that is great for anyone that is interested in A Course in Miracles is the Course in Miracles workbook for students. There is a daily affirmation that you can practice each morning and re-practice each evening and throughout the day to keep yourself focused on light and love and peace and joy. Another practice that is very empowering is journaling. I think writing can be very beneficial for a lot of people. So those are three ways to really stay centered: meditation, journaling, and positive affirmations are extremely empowering and beneficial. And Course in Miracles workbook for students is a wonderful way to practice training your mind to focus on the love each day.
Focus the love indeed. And Miss Suzanne, again, thank you so much for sharing your book to the world. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom as well. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, or anything you want to promote on Abstract Essay?
Yeah, my website is www.surrendertojoy.net, surrendertojoy.net, and there is a lot of more information about me on my website. My book is Surrender to Joy: From Suicide to Serenity. It is available on Amazon.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Susan Michelle, because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Miss Suzanne, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
Monica, people, see you soon.